What's up? How you doing? Here we are, Sunday morning. Beautiful day today. Slight breeze, looks like east to west, maybe 1.8 miles per hour. Coffee from Starbucks. Good stuff. Good stuff. Got some bread here, fresh bread. And butter, salted butter, Lewis Road Creamery, New Zealand, from our very own farm there. Best before, well, plenty of time, July 20th, 2024. Look at that. Never had this before, but I'm going to have it now. So here we have Jackie's Jams, peach mango jam, handcrafted in San Diego, California. Vegan, well, of course, right? Gluten-free and no sugar added. Best Buy. And this one is a little bit longer, so you could eat this all the way. I'm sure it's even longer than that, but July 27, 2025. So, we're going to try some right now. I'm a little bit hungry. Alright, we cut this piece off, use it for something else. Maybe a doorstop, I don't know. That smells awesome. That smells really good. It's like those old day bakeries when you would pass by in the morning and they had bread just made. You could smell it from like a mile away. And there was a line, and they'd sell you bread. That's what it smells like. All right. Good looking butter. Have a little drinky poo. Got the knife here. Oh yeah, that's nice. Good butter. I want to say that pretty much anything from New Zealand is good. I haven't run into anything from New Zealand that is not good. All right. Close it up. Now, oh, that smells delicious. Delicious. Yeah, you can tell that's good stuff. Butter and jam. Reminds me of the old days. Women in the neighborhood who had the knowledge on how to make this in their backyard. They would get a big pot going, they would clean the peaches, get a nice fire underneath with you know that what's that wood? Beech wood, hardwood there. And then they'd make the jam. And I remember one time there was a kid, his mother made some of that stuff, and it was, I don't know, I want to say it was like maybe 4:30 in the afternoon, and he came out with a big piece of bread, about a 1/4 inch of butter, and then another 1/4 inch of peach jam, and he was eating it. It looked so good. I still remember that. Anyway, so we're gonna try this out. Very good. Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. I appreciate it. You know it's good quality when it says handcrafted. I don't know who that is, Jackie. Refrigerate after opening. That's right. Barron Family Foods, El Cajon, California. JackieJams.com. Check them out. Check them out. This is good stuff. Hard to find good stuff these days. It's out there though, but you have to look. El Cajon is where I go. El Cajon Pass is where the freight trains are, and that's where I go. I've been going there for a long time now, very long time. I go there when my kids were small. I would take them. I still take them there, but I would take them there, and the train conductors going by on the big freight trains would pull the horn and wave, just like the old days, the 1950s. They'd wave like this, and then I'd wave back like this, like I was on a castle. And I enjoy trains. Big train person. That is why I like the song I've Been Working on the Railroad. Even when I was a kid, that was a good song. Big fan of that song. Should have been a #1 hit on AT40. So, anyway, I'm going to talk about a book that I have right here. See it? Look at that book. So this book I bought in like 81, 82, around there. Now it's much older than that, but what happened was there used to be a place called Christmas Tree Plaza, and there was a store in there called Christmas Tree, and you'd go in there. It was like a store that sold cheap stuff. So I wasn't really a fan. I mean, I would go in there, walk around, then leave. But my store was two buildings over in the plaza, and it was a bookstore. So I would go in there while everybody else was at the other store, and I would go through the books. Loved looking at the books. So one day I'm in there, and there's boxes in the aisle right against the wall. And I looked down, and it was all, books they were trying to get rid of, discounted books. They were like $1 each. And I was looking, and this one grabbed my eye. Joe Bonamo. So I was a fan of Charles Atlas. I had bought the course probably a year earlier, and I had done that course, and it was easy to do because you didn't need any equipment. It was all either calisthenics or it was dynamic tension, things like that, things you can do in your house. And I used to do it up in my attic. Our attic was all done up and had rugs and everything, so I would go up there, do my little Charles Atlas stuff, push-ups, sit-ups, dynamic tension, all that. And I did it for quite a while. But I was always interested in, something with weights in it. And this one here, had the weights. So I didn't know who Joe Bonamo was, but as time went on, I became a bigger and bigger and bigger fan. And today, you know, I'm a big fan of Joe Bonamo. So he was born in New York. His family had a little table there in Coney Island. They would sell Turkish taffy. He was born in the U.S., I think late 1800s. And eventually he became a stuntman in Hollywood movies in the 30s. All right. But I found this book very interesting, and this was, you know, a book I had used early on in life, you know, with the weights and stuff. But I mean, he had messages from the director, like letters in here that he would publish, and then you'd read them, give you a little bit of little inspiration, Q&A in the back here. I think this book is from, was it 1953? Guarantee you none of these guys are alive. I think Joe Bonamo died in the late 70s. But if you see the price, $3.95 for this book. And then here he had the Strongman book that he published. Got interrupted there, so I'm back. So anyway, yeah, this book I had read and reread and read and reread many times. And like I said, I became a fan of this Joe Bonamo. But in those days, you couldn't go on the internet and type in Joe Bonamo and get information on him. Nowadays, boom, you type in the name, you get all this information, you find out his history, his background, all that stuff. And then even the people he used in here as, you know, models to show the bodybuilding techniques, you can actually find them. Typed in a couple of these guys, and some of them were bodybuilders from the 1940s. You know, but what I liked about this book is that it actually showed them, you know, the final result, like in shape. You'd see them do the exercise, and then physically they looked like the exercises worked. Where some of the Charles Atlas stuff, you know, he's older in the manual that I bought. There's a few pictures of him from the young days, from his young days, but a lot of them are from when he was like up there, you know, in age. So, yeah. Anyway, so I noticed one guy in here, if I could find him. I saw it earlier. One second, bear with me one. Yeah, I found it accidentally, but it's in here somewhere. If I don't find it, I'll just say what it is. Yeah, but there's a lot of information in here. It even gives you the measurements of these guys, like this guy here, waist 31 inches. You know, and Bonamo's not in bad shape. He played Hercules. Over here, I don't know, it looks like he's dressed up to do the tightrope walk in the circus. I will find it. It's just something that I always found to be funny. You know, especially from a grown-up's point of view. Like if you're a grown-up and you do that. But I'm not finding it now. No. Anyway, what I was gonna say is that there's a guy in here, one of the models that is showing how to do the weightlifting, and his name has an I in it, and he dots the I with a circle. I always found that funny. There was a girl in my class, 4th and 5th grade. Her name was Linda. She sat next to me in 5th grade, and I was good friends with her, Linda. And she had, that bubbly handwriting. Everything was like loopy and curvy and everything, So when she signed Linda, the I in Linda always had a circle, and sometimes she would put a smiley face in there. But here is a grown man, and his name has a circle too. Just things like that entertain me. They make me giggle inside. Another thing I want to mention here. Oh, that. So good. So it has the ideal weight chart, height and weight. Go ahead. All right. So it has the ideal weight chart in here, and I'll just give you a few examples. It says if you're 5'8", right? 5'8", you should weigh anywhere from 145 to 156. Then you get to 5'10". 5'10", you should weigh 153 to 164. 5'11", 157 to 168. 6 feet. If you're 6 feet, the ideal weight according to those years, these charts, or this chart, 161 to 173. And it goes all the way to 6'3". 6'3", 176, 189. That's a twig. By today's standards, that's a really skinny person. Imagine you weigh, you're 5'10", and that's an average frame. If you're a small frame person, they recommend if you're 5'10", that you should weigh about 144 to 155. You know what you would look like if you're 5'10" and you weighed 144 pounds? POW. Yeah, POW. Just, I don't know, people were a lot smaller back then. I'll tell you how, obviously you see pictures, they're all like, tiny and short. But when you go to Fenway Park, which I've been to a few times, and you sit in the seats, it's like they're made for children. They're really small. You're sitting like this. It's very tight, very uncomfortable. Then you go to Dodger Stadium, which I've been to many times, many times, and the seats are nice and wide, comfortable. You have room. You can bring things with you, So Dodger Stadium, pretty new, not that old. Fenway Park, very old, and you can tell that people were a lot smaller back then. Any place, and I'll give you another example. El Capitan, the theater up here in Hollywood. So I went to see a movie there many years ago. I go in and I sit down, and the seats felt like they were just way too tiny, and the leg room, from one seat to another, very small distance. So we eat more now, that's why. Back then food was not as abundant as it is now, unless you lived on a farm. But those weights are kind of light. £150 for a 5'10" guy. Light. And maybe people were more active back then, you know. Like maybe if they had to go grocery shopping, they would walk to the grocery store and have one of those, you know, wheelbarrows, put the groceries in there and walk back home. Now we drive everywhere. You know, you go to 7-Eleven, you walk, you don't walk, you drive. So maybe that was it. And a lot of manual labor back then. You had to dig a grave, you did it by hand. So now they got backhoes and things like that. So, you know, you don't burn the calories. But yeah, it's just funny. But yeah, it's right here. Got the whole breakdown. But yeah, this book spoke to me back then. And you know, I see it now, and it's just such good memories. Look at that, Joe Bonamo with the Q&A and his little letter to his students. But yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan of Joe Bonamo and Charles Atlas. I did both the courses, but Charles Atlas was very convenient for me because anywhere you went, you could do the Charles Atlas course. Not that hard, you know. Man, I want to show the eye with the dot. I know it's in here somewhere. I'm going to edit this part, speed it up, so. And what a cool name, Bonamo. It's like, who's coming over? Joe Bonamo's coming over. I mean, of course, Charles Atlas. Charles, which is not his real name, Angelo Siciliano. I don't know why I didn't go with Angelo Atlas. Maybe that doesn't sound as good now because we're used to Charles Atlas. And Charles is like a tough guy name. Only because Charles Bronson had it. But Charles Bronson had it after. I mean, he was born, I think, Charles. And Bronson was the name he got from one of the gates up here, the Bronson thing. His name was not Bronson. He had some other kind of fancy name. Love Charles Bronson. Big fan. Not so much the later stuff that he did, but the stuff where, you know, like what was that movie called, the Street Fighter there. He's like a street fighter. He makes a living as a fighter. He fights people bare-fisted, bare-knuckle there. Get the name of that. I saw that a few times. You know, good movie, tough way to make a living. See, now I have to find that. I know it's in here, you know, but it's like they made it disappear. Yeah, and then in the back, they have all the books that are by Joe Bonamo. And he's got every subject. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, so Charles Atlas, guess he was sitting and he said, how can I sound more like a mythical figure. Got Atlas, had the planet on his back there. And then he said Charles. Charles sounds like a good tough guy name. You know, it's funny though, a lot of people, when they talk about Charles Bronson, they call him Charlie. Charlie, like he's like Charlie, like, double dated with Don Juan or something. It's Charlie. Wasn't there a Charlie on the Brady Bunch? Marsha wanted to date him, or maybe it was it Jan's fake boyfriend? Somebody was named Charlie. Marsha. I don't know. Marsha had something, that Maureen McCormick. Not many people name their kids Maureen anymore. Their daughters, not their sons. But Maureen McCormick was a hottie. You know, she had the look. She had that look. She had the look that, you know, like if you were in school with her, out of all the guys in the class, 80% would have a crush on her. Just that look. You know, she's one of those people in nature that has that attractive look that attracts a lot of males. Some people have it. But she was a hottie. Now, you know, she's a little bit older. Oh, I found him. This guy looks like Kurt Douglas. But his name is Terry Robinson. And he's got one of those bubbly signatures. As a matter of fact, the R's are the old-fashioned kind of R's. That R in cursive that he did was the same R that my teacher, my English teacher in 8th grade, she used to write like that. She was old, you know. But look at the I in Robinson. I think you could see that. I don't know, but anyway, he looks like Kirk Douglas. And then it has Joe Bonamo's memo right there. So this guy, I'll give you the measurements here. Upper arm 16 inches, forearm 13.5, chest 47, waist, the waist is crazy, 29-inch waist, thighs 24, calves 16.5, neck 16.5, wrist is 8.5, ankle 9. He's a small guy. He's 5'6", 160. And then the classic picture in the old days, if you wanted to show you were strong, you would do this pose here. Let's see, right there. That was a classic one. You know, they'd say get a bunch of women and hang on him somehow. And then this guy here, this guy looks like he's from like our time. I mean, he's got the tattoos that look like they're from today. You know, what's his name? They don't have a name for him. Oh yeah, let's see. This guy is Jim Bain, and he's got a tattoo of a duck. But he looks, even the haircut looks like it's from now. So he was ahead of his time. This guy's 5'5", 138 pounds. Oh, so nice breeze. That's a good 6 miles an hour. It feels so good. Good day today. I have a little kitten that shows up. When it gets hungry, it shows up and finds me. It's a wild cat. But last night I was out here and I saw something move over there, and the little kitten was there waiting for me. So I went inside and got some cat food from my other cats. and I brought it out and I shake it first, kind of to let the cat know that it's like ringing that triangle. I put the food down there, and then I don't know, maybe 2 minutes later, the cat was there eating the food. So they know where to find the food. So anyway, this guy is 5'5", 138. You know, it's a lot easier if you're short, with short arms and short legs, to build muscle. It's if you're tall and have long arms and long legs that it's very difficult to bulk up. You know, short people like, what's that guy? Danny Padilla, awesome bodybuilder, 70s, 80s. He should have won Mr. Olympia at some point, but everybody can't win. But he had the body. He was a small guy. I think he was like 5'4", 5'3". He was a small guy, but packed. You know, packed. Everything was just, you know, good proportion, good, what do they call that, bicep peak. You know, but a lot of short guys, they do well in bodybuilding. Plus, when you bench press, your arms being shorter, you don't have to go up and down as far. I liked a bodybuilder from the old days. Of course, Frank Zane was a favorite of mine, Frank Zane. But I also like Tom Platz. Still around. If you go on YouTube, you can find Tom Platz. But in the 80s, Tom Platz with the legs dominated the quads. Was he the Quad Father or something? They nicknamed him. Just an amazing lower body. Those legs were like bulldozers. And, you know, there are bodybuilders today with those kind of legs, but they have crazy drugs now they take to get to that level. And he also did something, but not like what they do now. I mean, he was an amateur compared to what they do now. But Tom Platz. Remember there was a photo shoot he did at the beach. I don't know if it was in Malibu. He was all greased up. It was in his peak. And they shot pictures out doing some poses. But he's still around it. I think his legs are still, you know, elephant legs. You know, there are elephants that look at each other and tell each other that they have Tom Platz legs. Big legs. So yeah, he was but Frank Zane to me was the perfect, you know, bodybuilder. Like say like 79, 80, around, not 80, 78, 79, those years. And I think he was on an episode of Heart to Heart. I remember seeing him on that. I used to watch that show, Heart to Heart. Robert Wagner. Stephanie Powers. She was a hottie. Stephanie Powers. She was on the $6 Million Man when the Bigfoot episodes were on. She was like, I don't know what, she was some kind of supervisor with the bionic Bigfoot, the robot. Stephanie Powers. I used to cut my hair at a barber shop, and it's still there. But I used to cut my hair, and they hired a female barber, and she was a look-alike of Stephanie Powers. Very curvy, same hairstyle. You know, maybe she was a fan and just wanted to look like that. And one time, I think I was like in the 5th grade, I left my house. I would walk to the barber shop, and I left my house to get a haircut, and halfway down, a rainstorm caught me. Started pouring out like that heavy cats and dogs thing. And by the time I got down there, I opened up the door, and there were other people getting a haircut, and her seat was empty. So obviously, if I had gone in, you know, she would have taken me. And I went in there, and she came out, and she brought a towel, and she dried me up, and, you know, I got the treatment that day. And to me, it was obvious. Now, I had gone down there for a haircut, but to her, she thought I just went in there for refuge, you know, like shelter. And then I said, "Oh, I'm here to get a haircut." Oh, she goes, "Oh." She goes, "I didn't know." She goes, "Oh, have a seat." So she cut my hair, blow dried it. And then that was the first time I'd gotten a haircut with her, and I realized that the difference between a man and a woman giving you a haircut is the tenderness you feel from a female. Her hands extra soft, like she had just put on Jergens moisturizer, and they smelled good. You know, where the guys feel like, I don't know, like a mechanic's giving you a haircut, a little bit rough. She was very gentle, you know, she'd move you around, and her hands were very soft. So yeah, I said I prefer her. So then after that, many times after that, I got a haircut from her. Just random coincidence. I wouldn't pick her. I wouldn't pick anybody. I would just whoever was next. And a lot of times when I was a kid, because, you know, you're young, a lot of the adults would, you know, kind of bypass you. You know, they would be next. That's not a good system to have at a barbershop when there's a lot of people in there to say next. Hard to keep track if you're next or not. So a lot of times I would get passed over and I wouldn't say anything. And then eventually, you know, when it would become very obvious, I would be like, "Oh, I'm next." So I would get up and get a haircut. But I got her many times after that. And she was a good barber. Very good. And then another time I had gone to a place, I was looking for another place to get a haircut. And I went to a place that was up the street from me. I don't know who was in there, I just went in there. And when I went in there, it was all model-looking female hairdressers. And they had a receptionist in there, and she was talking all breathy. And then they took me to the back. A couple of females took me to the back, and they washed my hair with some shampoo that smelled like roses. That was the first time I went to a barbershop and I got a haircut. I mean, a hair washing. So they washed my hair, and then they gave me a nice haircut. They dried me off, and they used a blow dryer, and then they put some product in there. And I went there a few times, but it was only females cutting hair. And not just females, but very breathy. They would talk like. So, and then a few years after that, I was working somewhere else, and I bumped into somebody I'd met there. And he was like my age, and we're talking, and he goes, "Oh, you know," he goes, "my family, they own a beauty salon or something, or a haircut place." And I said, "Oh, they do?" And he goes, "Yeah, you know," and he mentioned where it was, and I go, "I know where that is, I've been there." So I met the owner's son. So that's it. Joe Bonamo, Barbell Training Routines, Joe Bonamo. Highly recommend this book for many, many reasons. One of the biggest ones is I'm nostalgic. That, and then first time trying this, but I recommend it because it's very good. Jackie's Jams, handcrafted in San Diego. So check out their website. I don't get paid for saying that. I just say it because it's true for me. And then this thing here, Lewis Road Creamery, New Zealand salted butter. It says care for the environment, people, and planet. New Zealand. Beautiful country, New Zealand. I would love to visit. It's one of the, if it's not the cleanest, it's one of the cleanest. But I think it's the cleanest country in the world. Beautiful atmosphere. Nice valleys, mountains. Smells great when you're there. I haven't been there, but that's what I hear. Anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.